Hello guys and welcome to my budget deck channel. Today with the deck profile that I've been waiting for quite a while. Was never quite sure how to actually make the deck work, but I found a way that the deck is playable in my opinion. There's obviously in theory more competitive variants of this deck. Not saying this deck version isn't competitive at all. I think you can score quite well with this deck. You'd be surprised how well actually. But obviously, there's cards that might be a little bit more expensive, so in the budget deck profile, it's probably not included, but I included them in the side deck. I'll talk about other card choices that you can play, other cards that if you can afford the few more bucks, you probably should put in the deck, and other than that, I'll go over why I chose which card, and yeah, let's start off all right with that. And triple Traptrix Ajax, I'm trying to get some Traptrix names in, and I feel like those four that I chose were the best Traptrix in the deck. I think the other ones kind of are a little bit lackluster, they don't do much. But what I like about the whole Ajax kind of card is first of all you can activate normal trap cards from your hand, which is pretty nice because your opponent won't expect it, and that's why I'm also running stuff like Wreck the Screed. I'll talk about this card in a second, and there's some cheeky things that you can do with this card. It's not all bad. I know you've not seen this card in a while, but trust me, it's not as bad as it sounds like. Also, cards they cannot be negated, the activation of normal trap cards, which is pretty strong. There would be things that would be stronger with. Another card that I didn't include because when I checked, I already basically did the deck profile with it and then realized, oh, the card is more expensive than I thought. So that's my dedication to being a budget deck supporter. I took it out, Artifact Sanctum. I would play the card at 3, would play Scythe and Moral Attack because you can shut your opponent down with Scythe so much. It's so great. And yeah, being able to, for them not to ash it or whatever with Ajax on the field, that just is amazing in my opinion. But for that, I just put in some evac devices and some more trap pools, which is the aim of the game with this deck. You see, there's a lot of room for other trap cards technically that on trap holes because I decided to run like a massive line haul of trap holes. It's a trap trick deck. I tried to stick with it a little bit, first of all, so you can utilize the whole fact Ajax can summon out from your hand. A lot of effects are specifically for the normal trap hole cards, so you can recur actually a lot more cards if you actually play a lot more trap hole cards. Not saying you have to, there's obviously combos where that isn't super necessary. You could spam Lost Wind and all those kind of things, but I'll talk about why I don't like it as much. But just notice I have a lot of trap holes, and there's a reason for it. Traptrix Dionea, basically, when it's normal summoned, it's a rank 4 engine, so that is pretty nice, unless you don't have Traptrix in your graveyard, then not so much, but also it still has an effect when it's special summoned. You can target one whole normal trap card in your graveyard, set the target. See, that's what I'm talking about. Can't do that with any normal trap card. I know for the Link Monster, normal trap cards are important to trigger its effect, but for cards like that one, I think it's quite nice that you can recur traps and then not maybe it would be better if you can use them again. Sadly, they missed that out. Maybe that would have been too overpowered back then, but now it would be a somewhat fine-ish, I guess. I mean, I would love it, but it's not. Still, you can recur quite a lot of things. Traptrix Memelio, because you can search any kind of trap hole, which can come in handy. Problem with this card is I like it, but also don't, because your opponent sees which one you have and what you like. I mean, they will know what you played anyway, but since you have to go into your Link Monster basically, but then they kind of know how to work around it a little bit or what they can expect, and sometimes they just don't do anything because they know you won't get enough damage on board if they feel like, oh yeah, they only have 1 or 2 plays and you can shut them down. Then they'd rather do nothing. Don't let you resolve a trap card because most of them need your opponent to have something. And then you're kind of like, well, how do I finish this game? Because if I can't resolve my normal trap cards, I can't build up board advantage, and I'm stuck on a 800 attack point monster with the Link Monster. But yeah, that's that. If it's special summon, target one spell trap card your opponent controls, destroy the target. Not too bad. I feel like that comes in handy a lot of the time. Traptrix Nepenthes, basically a tiny version of the Link Monster in my opinion. Card also does, like, if you activate a normal whole trap card, but there it is again, so I feel like that's why I also max out on them a little bit. You can add one or special summon one Traptrix monster from your deck, which is pretty strong because that triggers stuff like Dionea. You can get Ajax out. You can technically get Myrmilio out if your opponent plays a back row heavy deck. So I feel like this in general is pretty neat. Problematic is this deck. The whole deck in general, where you have to side deck a lot with like heavy storm duster and all those kind of things. There's obviously a lot to do that you can do in side decking, which I did not include, but side decks with this card, you have to be you have to be prepared. Is if you're playing against decks that run back row and barely play monster, like Guru Control comes to mind. Even though you can shut down Guru Control if they need to normal summon it, and you use the Floodgate Trap and they can push it back, but I don't know if they can change the battle position to effects or whatever. But what I'm saying is there will be, against decks that never summon any monster or special summon, you can have problems. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, on the other hand, how will they beat you down? Then there's just gonna be that Mystic Mind Burn and stuff, but most of the time you will be playing against decks that summon monsters, so don't worry about that. Even through Draco and stuff, you will be able to do stuff against, which I like. Triple effect fail because there's already more expensive cards in the deck, so I try to keep it as cheap as possible. If you can run impermanence, run impermanence. If you can't, or you want to run Ash Blossom, run Ash Blossom. That's also a neat card. Triple desires, I know not everybody would be happy about this, but since most cards aren't essential for the deck, since the essential card for the deck is basically a Link Monster and you have an access to normal trap cards, I feel like it's pretty okay to run it in the deck. It gives you some kind of hand advantage in a trap deck. That's always good. And you can't run any of the other ones, Pot of Duality, Demise, all those kind of things you can't really run because you want to be special summoning. You're a Link Monster, and if you can't, then yeah, that's kind of sad. So I feel like that one is the best card in my opinion if you want a draw engine in the deck. Double or Nothing kind of has a little bit of a problem with this, but I think it's still fine. If you banish it, you still have enough win conditions. That's just a little tiny extra to beat down your opponent that you probably kept a little bit on the small hand there during their turn. So Double or Nothing comes in handy with the whole Utopia double engine. Like, it would be stupid not to play it in my opinion, but yeah, I mean, there's other win conditions than just that as well. Time Space Chapel, one of the better ones. The one where your opponent has to summon a monster with 2,000 or more attack and then you negate effect, destroy it. I mean, with this one, you have to pay life points, can be annoying, but it gives you an option against stuff like pendulums, for example. I like that. Also, like, helps you against all kinds of things. I feel like the other one with 2,000 attack, that's just a little bit late. In my opinion, it's just a little bit late because you want to hit them as early as possible, and yeah, when your opponent summons a monster with 1,500 or more attack, it's kind of difficult sometimes because, for example, against Salamangreat, you will have problems with this card if they normal summon a Salamangreat that doesn't have more attack than that, which they do have a lot of them, and even a Gazelle I think doesn't. Maybe 1,500, I'm not sure, but there's actually things where they could go around it till they go into Sunlight Wolf, but then you can't use it on Sunlight Wolf because they'll just banish Bailings, since the card doesn't instantly banish but destroys the monster first, and if you destroy it then you banish it, which is most awkward effect ever. Why that's a thing, I don't know, but that gives them the option to protect it with Bailings, if I'm not mistaken, so you have to always watch where you actually hit them. But other than that, I think the card is neat enough to play it. Like, the other trap holes aren't amazing either, so I feel like the card is, for a normal trap hole, definitely worth playing. Traptrix, Trap Hole Nightmare, like the card. I mean, I think it's the better version of basically the bottomless trap hole, because it has to be special summoned, but most players these days go into some kind of Link monster that doesn't have protection at the start, and then also you negate the effect, which is pretty good against stuff like Bailings, for example, and then destroy the card, so your opponent is kind of shut down with that. Reckless Greed, a card that I wanted to talk about. First of all, Reckless Greed gives you two cards. Well, obviously draw phase and stuff is a thing, but I think if you still have some cards in hand and you still have some trap cards and your Link monster, or enough of your Traptrix monsters, then the card isn't super bad. I'm not saying you should run it, but I think you don't really need your draw phase because there's enough ways where you can actually get hand advantage with, or field advantage basically. Like, at one point you'll have your whole board spammed with monsters and stuff. Problematic, don't resolve it if you see that you might be running out of Traptrix monsters, for example, and you can't go into a Link monster anymore and all those kind of things. You could play technically back to the front as well at 1 or 2, so you can revive stuff. Wouldn't be too bad in my opinion. But Reckless Greed has one positive effect, and first of all, it's like, it's bait for card destruction. Like, if your opponent plays Twin Twister or Heavy Storm Dust or whatever, Reckless Greed is bait, because first of all, technically, if they don't try to do it during your turn, like if you go first, then you can chain it if they target it and instantly use it, so draw the 2 cards, and they wasted their card removal. And on the other hand, also, it's a normal trap card that you can't resolve whenever. There's no condition to it whatsoever, unless obviously it gets negated or whatever. But the thing is, the other cards all require your opponent to do something. This literally doesn't. So if you want to use the effect of Traptrix, this card can actually trigger it, and it's actually better than you think. So I think the card itself is actually pretty neat, and it's a thing that you can't forget about, because a lot of other cards, when your opponent tries to negate it, and I think this works with chaining 1 and 2, because you can use both effects of the card once per turn or something. And I think then if your opponent wants to like Veiler it, Impermanence it, whatever, if you then chain stuff like Reckless Greed to it, because your opponent doesn't have to do anything for it, then you can still at least get one of the effects of, which I like about the card as well. Floodgate Trap Hole card that works especially well because it says when your opponent summons a monster, not special summons, so normal summons will be included, you can flip it face down, which works against stuff like Marinces, which works mostly against stuff like Salamangreat, because their play is normal summoning a monster, going into Bailings, blah, 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 blah. Could work against Sky Striker as well, because they don't have many plays. Against Sky Strikers especially works well, because they then will have a monster in the main monster zone that they can't link away and they can't tribute over. So this card is actually better than you think. They have to destroy it, obviously, with one of their spell cards. The deck is so versatile that it doesn't matter. But I think the card's quite nice. But also the problem is, well, I only run it to link monsters don't care about this card. Like, if for some reason you can't activate it before, and yeah, link monsters don't care about this card whatsoever, because they don't have a defense position option. So I feel like 2 of the cards fine. Could run it once in a side deck as well if you really want to utilize on it, because there's decks that card can really shut down. But problem with Sky Striker as well is that you have to get rid of the card at one point to finish the game, so it always felt like a little bit clunky in the sense of like, oh, the opponent still has that one card. Lost Wind, a card that I really like since it's got reprinted. It's like quite easy to pick up as well, and yeah, I think the card you should be playing at least at 1, could be playing it at 2. Problem with this card that I have is it just negates the effect, but you can recycle it from your graveyard, so I kind of like it. But it doesn't destroy, it doesn't give you like any kind of other advantage like the other cards do. It's a good card, don't get me wrong. It kind of helps you beating over cards as well if some cards have too big of attack points, because that can happen. I once got shut down by a 2000 defense point monster that I couldn't get over for quite a while. Next up, compulsory evacuation device. Just get rid of one of your opponent's possibly extra deck summoned cards so they don't get it back to their hand. And Solemn Judgment, protecting your back row first of all from kinds of removal. It will be especially important once this Massive Field new card comes out. What basically is like the Harpier Duster card, but just better, because you could technically nuke your opponent's monster as well. So this card will be even more important. If you feel like this card is too expensive, this is the one card where where I'm saying like you should probably try and fit it in. Like with any other card, I'm like, not necessarily have to, but this card I feel like is kind of a must in the deck. For the extra deck, Utopia Double Engine, because you have rank 4s, Tornado Dragon, Baguska, Plan B, Exeter Knight can come in helpful, most of the time not, but I think it's more helpful than any other ones, but there's obviously ones that you can play. Abyss Dweller, really nice card, and 1 Traptrix Affligia. I'm not saying I go often into this card because it has no attack value, and your link monster basically makes this card kind of obsolete, but I still want to run it for the fields because it's the Traptrix deck. Boral Load Dragon, obviously if you can afford Boral Sword, then put Boral Sword in. Topologic Traspania can help you in time, even if you banish your own spell trap cards. Burn damage can finish the duel. There's a lot of things you can do with this card. Also, it's your option against back row decks if you run out of back row, so also that is a thing. New Seraphim Papillion, I think, might have been a thing that you might want to run, since you can revive level low or 4 or lower insect monster from your graveyard, which some of your monsters are, and then you can get effects because their effects aren't negated. So I think I do like the card. It's still a lot of stuff to go into, just having a monster that basically doesn't have much attack points. So I feel like, yeah, you know, not sure if it's the greatest option, but I think there's not many. Obviously, if you Nightmare Unicorn, you can play that. Nightmare Phoenix and Cerberus, pretty standard cards as well. And triple Traptrix Sierra, a card that, first of all, it's a secret rare. So I feel like since this deck topped kind of a little bit in the last month, I want to say get it while it's not hot yet. Like, I think it's still very pretty cheap compared to how secret rares can be if they actually being played like a lot in the meta. So I feel like if you want to pick it up, then probably now is about the time, because I don't think it's going to get much cheaper, but rather going to get much more expensive, since I think someone even like won a regional with the Traptrix or something. Not sure, but this could come in handy if you get it. Now, the deck still works if you only play 2. If you say like, oh, 3 is too expensive playset, don't really want to play it, because I don't like the deck as much, but I want to play the deck, I don't want to commit full to it, then 2 are fine. 1, I think, is not enough. You want to play 3, but if you can only afford 2, it's fine, but don't play just 1, because that will get you into a tricky pickle. What you could also play, Topologic Bomber Dragon, felt like you don't go into it as much. Insect Shinobi, if it's out, is a neat card, I guess. I mean, you can special summon stuff again. Kind of good, kind of good. Frozen Rose, a card I've seen some people play. I like it, but also don't, because it's not a trap card. I'm like, yes, it searches you stuff and it gives you stuff, but I'm always, you can dodge out removal or negate effects that your opponent put onto your Traptrix monster, first of all. So I think if they effect Veiler or Ash, if they effect Veiler, they can just dodge it and this kind of stuff. Like, that's a thing. And then get some resources and either draw or search. I think it's okay, since the effect works for both, because technically you have insect and plant monsters, but your league monster is a plant monster, so you can get the draw, and for other cards you can get the search. Feel like it's good, but it's not amazing. Could play it, could also not. I mean, that's an option, for example, for stuff like Reckless Greed if you don't want to play it. I feel like that card is doing basically around the same kind of thing. What you could also play Network Trapple, because, well, special summoning from main deck or graveyard, some people do that. Yeah, quite situational. A card that I thought about, Wiretap. If your opponent plays Red Reboot, it's a good card to side in Wiretap, because they'll probably try to stop you from using trap cards during their turn. So if you can Wiretap their Red Reboot, that would be a neat thing. Plus, it adds another card that can protect you, like Solemn Judgment here, because, well, they can do this exact same thing. Another card you could be playing if you have the money for it, or if you really want to play it, Get Out is nice. But if your opponent has 2 extra deck monsters, helps you against stuff like Dragon Links or whatever, where they don't have negates, but a lot of the time they have, I felt like when they have the 2 extra deck monsters, then they had some form of negates, or somehow got rid of some of your back row already and stuff like that. So I felt like the card wasn't as good as it could be, but if you want to run 1 or 2 of them, then be my guest. Hope you enjoyed the deck profile. Hope you like my in-depth discussion about the card choices. And you see, I have a lot of love for this deck. Subscribe to my channel if you like budget deck content, and I'm maybe interested in Alter Guy's deck profile. I'm working on this, can't make it work with a pot of extravagance that much, but I'm trying, and hope you're having a good day.